And today we're going to delve into that crucial question. If I can invite Miriam Loxam, Sam Elliott to the stage, Mike Sandiford, and Danielle Flovio. Can we have a big round of applause, please? I think we can have a run in. Yeah. Come closer. So we're going to ask that crucial question, and that is, how can we harness the power of creativity to ensure school readiness in an unequitable world? And you're going to hear from each presenter. They'll have 5 minutes, and then we'll open the floor for discussion and questions from both you guys in here and also our online viewers. So Miriam Loxam will start us off, and she's from Greater Manchester Combined Authority, and she will speak about the importance of early years development. Thank you.
Thanks, Madalena. It's great to be here today. I'm feeling really warm but energised after that. So thank you to Ron Bear colleagues. It was fantastic to get a snapshot of the work we've been supporting with Ron Bear in our nurseries. And I'm going to start by talking a little bit about why that is so critically important for us in Greater Manchester. So I think it's already been covered today in some of our keynote addresses, but I really want to emphasise again that the early years period from pregnancy to age 5 is a unique window of opportunity to support young children and families and address some of those inequalities that impact on the later life course. All the research tells us that healthy development in the early years will positively impact on physical and emotional health and well-being, educational attainment, economic productivity, and influence further in subsequent generations through healthier attachment and parenting. And in particular, we need to focus on the first 1,001 critical days, which start at conception to a child's second birthday, and support our parents to ensure that all babies and infants benefit from that warm, nurturing relationship that was so beautifully described in Rachel Egan's address there when she talked about the impact of that lullaby on her younger sister. And it is really that warm, nurturing relationship that is key to early brain development. So prior to the COVID pandemic, we were seeing green shoots in our early years outcomes in Greater Manchester. But we all know that the pandemic and the subsequent cost of living crisis has had a profound impact on our children and families. Based on the latest data, Greater Manchester remains an outlier for our school readiness outcomes at age 5 compared to the England average. 1 in 3 of our children are assessed as not meeting the good level of development at the end of the reception year, and that figure increases to 1 in 2 when you look at the outcomes for children experiencing deprivation. With almost 30% of our children in GM living in relative poverty, we know we need to maximise every opportunity to close the attainment gap and focus on all our children having those key building blocks that will support their ongoing development and learning. So where does the Creative Health Strategy and Programme fit within this context? Well, fundamentally, I think it's an opportunity to reach and engage families within their communities beyond traditional early years services. It offers an opportunity to provide those positive, enriching, and crucially, as Kate Green described, those enjoyable experiences for families that can also support with early language development, physical development, and cognitive and emotional development. There's also the skills and capacity within the creative and cultural sector workforce in the city region that can support families with early child development. And it's an opportunity to foster new ideas and bring creative practices to some of our biggest challenges, which is exemplified in the work we're doing with Ron Bear around supporting our workforce in early years settings. Ultimately, it's about ensuring that early child development is everyone's business, forging new partnerships and approaches rooted in our communities that can support our ambition for all our children in GM to thrive.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Sam Elliott from Bolton Council and lead for Bolton's cultural strategy. And she'll talk about the role of libraries as community hubs.
Hi everybody, I hope that you can all hear me. Great. So I'm here as chair of Greater Manchester Libraries, but I'm also head of service for Bolton Library Service. So I've come with two hats on, representing both. I think I've got some pictures that should be on behind me, so if they could run, that would be useful. So I've come to talk to you about how amazing libraries are and how fantastic we are across GM. I'd like to start by talking about where libraries are positioned within communities. So we are anchor organisations across cities and towns and villages and all of communities, and also online. We have libraries in prisons. We reach every part of every community. We've been around for a long time and we will continue to be so. We're places of trust, of solace, entertainment and learning, and we are many things to many people. Reading is really important and it's absolutely a core foundation of everything we do. But for those of you that haven't been in a library recently, libraries are much more than reading. We have a huge and wider cultural programme now. We are places of low barriers to engagement, so people feel really comfortable stepping through our doors. The vast majority of what we do is completely free, and we reach communities that many other cultural and creative organisations can't. We don't do enough to celebrate this in libraries. We're not that great actually at really celebrating ourselves like other cultural organisations. But I would say that we are palaces for the people in an unequitable world. We truly reach lots and lots of people. And what I want to talk to you about, I've got three key areas where I think we can play a huge part in the Place Partnership work. So the first is the benefit of libraries and reading and cultural activities that happen in libraries. And so you've heard today lots of people talking about the importance of pre-literacy skills. So there's a statistic here for you. So children from less advantaged backgrounds may hear 30 million fewer words spoken to them by the age of 4. And actually, in libraries, we recognise that speech, language and communication development are fundamental skills. And these are the things that help us develop our thinking, planning, learning, researching and following instructions. The first 3 years of a child's life when the brain is first developing and maturing is the most intensive period for acquiring those speech and language skills. And the best place to develop those skills is in a creative space like libraries, where there's lots of sounds, there's lots of exposure to speech and activity, and that you hear language from other people. And if you go into any library, the very basics of our offer, you will always find that there's a baby time, there's a rhyme time, a toddler tales, book start programs. That's our very basic offer. There's lots more that happens on top of that, but every library should be delivering that. The second area I just wanted to touch on is something that's often overlooked, but actually libraries are really fantastic at supporting the wider family. And we really want to put a focus on creating happy families. So when you're, if you're a mother and, when you're on maternity leave, that can be a really isolating place, especially if you can't afford, all the snazzy programs that you can buy into as a new mother. But a library is a place where you can walk into for absolutely free, and there'll always be something on that you can join in with. And for people like that, whether you're a mother or whether you're a different member of the family, having that peer network around you in a place of trust and a place of solace is really, really important. And we think that not only is that important to socialisation of parents and carers and so on, but also that's something that the children will learn too. And that everyone's accessing that across a level playing field, and that's really important. And then the third area that I wanted to talk about, and something that we can get much better at, is that libraries are a place for reading and cultural activities and that wider programming, but fundamentally we've always been about sharing information. Now, a lot of that now is digital information, but we're often the place where families might come for information about food banks or what's going on in the local area, but there's certainly much more we can do. If you have system messages that you want to push out across Greater Manchester, a really informal place to do that might be a library, and this is something that we can definitely get much better at in terms of working as a partnership, in able to be able to promote those messages and share them in a creative and informal way. We in Bolton, we've just had a fantastic transformation of our early years library space. And this is a challenge that we put out to all libraries now, that actually, if you want to work with early years and families, you have to create dedicated space for them. And that actually, sometimes that's a really brave decision in libraries, because I'll use mine, my library as an example. We just normally fill it with books. And that can be really overwhelming when you walk into a library. And actually, when you start looking at the data, those books don't issue. It's just that we've always done it. And you have to take brave decisions that actually things have to become less transactional, in and out books, stamping and so on, and things have to become more experiential. And so in Bolton, we've created a dedicated early years library. It's took over, a lot of space, but we know that children under 5 needs lots of space, and they need lots of movement. We've created ramps and levels and floors and so on. And yes, there's lots of books, but there's also lots of really beautiful space for them to go on reading adventures and story adventures. So that would be my challenge to other libraries, that actually you need to put your money where your mouth is and create these really creative spaces. And that's really important, being brave. And then the last point that I wanted to make is that although we are talking about the early years, we know that fundamentally that if children read at a young age, they do tend to be more successful adults. So they will be more employable, they'll have more skills, they tend to be more qualified, and actually that they will be the next generation of parents and carers and families and so on, and that they will be the ones promoting libraries, creative spaces to the new set of early years children. So it really is a cycle that actually, sometimes in libraries we tend to lose people when they get into the late teenage years, but they do tend to come back when they're parents. And so you always have to think about that life cycle, that people will come back to us. So my challenge to you would be that in libraries we are getting more creative. We're not all of the way there yet, but we're really excited to work with all of you. We're very open, and if anyone would like to come and talk to us about any potential work, the network of Greater Manchester Libraries, we meet every 8 weeks. We're a very organised group. They're not necessarily me, but librarians in general. And the meeting that we have, the first half of it is an open meeting for anyone that wants to come and present to us, work to us, and so on. And we're really interested because we do have a day-to-day, job that can be transactional, but we're really open to new partnerships and creative ways of working. So please get in touch with us and challenge us and bring us ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. One of our speakers is unwell, so wasn't able to make it today. However, we have Mike Sandiford, who's from Home Start and from the Dad Matters project, and he'll be talking about engaging fathers.
Hello. So I'm Mike from Home Start Host under the Dad Matters project, and my role is the Health Equalities Coordinator. At Dad Matters, we engage dads in the perinatal period, so from conception to 2 years old. And under the health inequalities, I work with young dads, neurodiverse dads, GBT dads, including non-binary birthing partners. And bear with me, I do have autism, so sometimes my brain goes faster than my mouth. And the fourth remit is ethnic minorities, young, SEN, and GBT. So they're the 4 remits. I engage communities and professionals who work with those dads. At Dad Matters, we recognise the first 1001 days are important, and dads are very important in school readiness. Studies have shown, which is done by Anna Macon, who is Machin, I can never pronounce the surname. The research she's provided has debunked a lot of myths about dads, such as oxytocin levels. Sorry to say this, but dads are naturally and biologically the fun parent. Whereas mum is meant to be the caregiver, the strict one. Dads, we help the children learn by self-risk assessment, just being risk-taking, but also learning emotionally. Studies have shown that dads influence children's behaviours in future. It reduces risk-taking behaviours and challenging behaviours that challenge. Sorry, I'm in a youth worker there. I was a youth worker as well. And what's really great about Dad Matters is that we work with dads through professionals and not groups. So there's a lot of dad groups out there that stay in place, that's great, but we focus on attachment and bonding. We do this by being EMBO trained, Solihull trained, and helping dads to recognise baby states, baby interactions through wait, wonder, serve and return. And the reason it's important that we help dads with this is for the school readiness, but also what makes us different from groups is a dad with postnatal depression or struggling wouldn't go to a group, but they might accept a referral or self-referring to Dad Matters. So we often work with health visitors, midwives and other perinatal professionals in referring these dads into us. And the reason it's important we focus on the attachment and bonding while dads are in this state is because they don't believe they can do it. They believe they're rubbish. So we also help signpost them to mental health services such as talking therapies, Andy's Man Club and other local mental health groups. I skipped the whole thing there, sorry. As part of that, we help contain the dads, we listen to them, we don't judge. What really helps is that we're dads, so I've got a beautiful little boy back in Bolton called Atlas, he's 4. And, you know, so me talking to other dads, we're just dads, that's how we engage with the dads. I find that a lot of neurodiverse young dads that I work with are not very wanting to engage because there's a lot of stigma. So I, in a creative way, just treat them like a dad, treat them as a peer, let them know that I'm non-judgmental, and just being there. Sometimes some of the dads I've worked with, I've just sat there in silence for 15 minutes because there was nothing to be said, and just being there was enough, and it works on from there. And all this work's important for the children, getting them ready for school, for the confidence levels to make friends. Just sorry, but give me 10 seconds to like reset. Funnily enough, that's one of the things I do with the neurodiverse dads is I actually wait 10 seconds in between questions, engagement, activities, because often we do that for children with neurodiverse conditions, but do we often do that for the adults? And I find that not many people do that. It's really important to be creative when we work with dads because every dad's different, even though we're all, I say this all the time, like, we treat them like dads, but every dad's different, we learn differently, we engage differently. I found that a lot of South Asian men don't have a word for mental health, so when it comes to working around their mental health and attachment and bonding, we don't talk about it, we just focus on the attachment and bonding, which then improves mental health. It's a very powerful thing, attachment and bonding. As I said, dads with postnatal depression need our support to allow them to attach and bond with their child. I was a dad with postnatal depression, and I accessed Dad Matters 4 years ago. And they helped me by recognising my neurodiverse condition and also catering the work with me, which then allowed me to get out of rut and think, what am I doing? Like, actually, I am a good dad. I am good enough. And we often talk about repair and rupture. Where ruptures happened, and the important thing is to repair that, and which then, again, helps children for the school readiness. Because then they learn to deal with conflict and also to be more resilient. And I do apologise. I know I'm going everywhere, and I'm hoping this is all making sense, but that's just how I roll. So what Dad Matters, the main thing is attachment and bonding, followed by the mental health, and we let the dads know that it's okay to mess up, because at the end of the day, as long as we repair the rupture, that enables the child to feel safe, form attachment and bond, which then again leads back to the school readiness, resilient, and be able to, just go through life and, be ready for those challenges of becoming friends with other children, dealing with challenges when they're older. And that's what we do at Dad Matters. We focus on the parent-infant relationship, which then helps with the child's development. Sorry, not that Kieran's normally here because I need a carer. But I'm sorry for that went around the houses, but it's what we do, and very proud of what we do. And we recognise that there's a lot of health inequalities out there, and we try and advocate for those as well.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was very informative. We'll finally hear from Daniel Flavio from Rambert. You've just seen his wonderful work and the transformative power of dance.
Yes, wow. So hello everyone. So as mentioned, I work at Rambert. I'm Director of Community Partnerships, and what Rambert is, I guess the main thing Rambert is it's a dance company. It's technically the world's oldest dance company, though sometimes we don't like to say that. We like to be thought of as more sort of forward-thinking and dynamic, and we tour work nationally and internationally. We had a big show, which is a dance version of Peaky Blinders. It was at the Lowry recently. Some of you may have seen it, or it's definitely worth checking out because I think it's going to go on another tour again soon. But basically, what I do is I head up all the community and participation work, and I absolutely love my job. And it's just about connecting people to dance. And I guess contemporary dance might have a sort of perception of being a little bit elitist and abstract, but I was really struck by what Kevin was saying from Company Chameleon at the start about my background is in theatre participation, and so when I started at Rambert with no dance background, I also had some of those conceptions, but I think the really powerful thing about dance is that it genuinely transcends language and culture as a way of sort of bringing people together, whilst also kind of conversely teaching people about very specific cultures as well. And so I think that's one of the really powerful things about dance as a form of creative health and participation. I was also just really struck hearing you talk about libraries. One of the things that we do is a youth engagement program where we work nationally, and one of our hubs is at Toxteth Library, and it's about just engaging young people in art and creativity. So it's really great to hear what's going on in Bolton. But just a little bit more on the Early Moves project. The video that you saw was of our test and learn that we just completed recently. We're now gearing up for a really exciting pilot. I mean, it's called a pilot, but it's actually super ambitious. Miriam is a partner on it, and it's actually super ambitious because we're basically working across all 10 boroughs of GM, and we've got 2 nurseries in each borough, and within those 2 nurseries there's 4 practitioners, and we are going to have 4 days of training where they're going to be sort of taught about the fundamentals of the playing cards and given the opportunity to sort of really unlock their own creativity and movement. And then from that, we've got the really ambitious project of the next year of kind of really embedding dance and movement within those settings, and asking the practitioners to deliver at least sort of 2 movement workshops a week. And within that, they're going to be supported by an amazing dance practitioner who's based in GM, who will be mentoring them and co-delivering and just kind of really helping them embed dance within their setting. I guess the aims of the project are to sort of upskill and train and motivate a workforce that, as we know, is undervalued and underpaid, and we want to sort of really try and we can't exactly rectify that, but we hope this project will go in some steps to sort of skilling and unlocking further creativity within that workforce. And the second thing is to improve school readiness, gross motor skills being one of the primary things, but also one of the unintended outcomes is that we've noticed improved numeracy and literacy as well with the test and learn. So we're sort of really looking forward to seeing how we can evidence that. So yeah, that's a bit about what we're doing.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to see that the strategy is already working and to hear from all the speakers about the importance of lived experience from dads, from Mike, and also about the commissions and the work that's happening with Miriam and Daniel, and the author from Bolton Library, Sam. That sounds exciting and interesting. We've got 10 minutes for questions. So if you've got any questions, either here in the room or online. Any hands? Okay, who's going to be carrying the... Like, okay, you got this one. Yes.
My name is Gelly Berg. I run a social enterprise called Lingua Franca World Community, CIC, which is bringing cultures together through creative projects and cultural projects. I just wondered, I know you can't achieve everything you've got some wonderful ideas set out, but was there any discussion about older people at any point when you were coming up with your 5 areas of concern or 6 areas of concern? Because those are the people who tend to seek us out, and there seems to be very little for them. But there's the isolation. They haven't had advantage of a lot of the early years things because of age, and there's very little opportunity for people to engage apart from, well, I was offered seated exercises, but I've got a 93-year-old man who used to come for Mambo classes with 2 new knees. So, can we open it up at some point in the future, if not now, please?
Very, very briefly, so I've popped in here because obviously early years specialist. One of our strands is working with unpaid carers of people, and this is an older people's focus. So there is and we're looking at brain health, and we haven't said dementia because we're looking at people who necessarily, they may have dementia, but it's about older people and their brain health. So that is very much part of the delivery plan already, and we have been working with the Ageing Hub sort of in the last couple of years. We've done a bit of work around how people access community assets in their local neighbourhoods as part of the Pathfinder, so absolutely, and it is work we will be continuing and expanding. So,
thank you. Any questions on early years? No? Yes, there's another hand there.
Hi, my name is Shamim Yusuf from MFT, Community Diagnostic Centres. But my question is regarding, for the early years, there's a lot of things that Sam said that is done for the young children. What I wanted to know was what would be done for the pregnant mothers, because with the development, depending on the mental health and state of the mother, that will impact the child. And I don't know how much of epigenetics that you know and how that can change how a child develops inside. will there be anything done for the pregnant mothers to help them have a happier pregnancy so that when they have their children, they're ready for, a bit more developed in that way? Thank you.
Great question. Miriam, would you be? Yeah.
I think it's a great question, and I think it's really important to kind of come back to that importance of that critical 1,001 days that starts right at conception. And yes, we focus a lot, and we've talked a lot today about interventions aimed at children, but you are absolutely right. We've got to start and ensure that we are wrapping that support and supporting physical well-being, but equally emotional well-being right through the pregnancy of both mothers and the unborn child, but also crucially co-parents. And that's some of the crucial work that Michael has described that Home Start delivered. Within Greater Manchester, we're really proud that we have a kind of gold standard perinatal parent infant mental health pathway that starts right from pregnancy, and it is a whole system approach delivered in partnership between our acute mental health providers, our local authorities, and also our VCS FE partners as well. But I think it's a really good opportunity, as you've highlighted, to think about how the work through Creative Health can build on that offer. We've got some great kind of developments happening at the moment through family hubs and establishing, one-stop shops in our communities in Greater Manchester that can support our families right from pregnancy to age 19, linking in with wider services such as libraries. So absolutely, I think we should be ambitious. We should think about how we could go further with this. And actually, as you've pointed out, let's not wait until we're kind of, dealing with the needs that a child might be presenting with. If there's something we can do in the antenatal period. I was over in Leeds recently, and their library services have actually got pods in them for antenatal appointments delivered by their community midwifery services, and that brings women into a library space before the baby's even born to actually understand what those services do and what that might mean for them, so they're not having to wait to see a flyer about a kind of stay and sing session, a rhyme time session. They're hearing about it while they're still pregnant and perhaps taking advantage of some of those services that might be available. Do you want to say anything, Sam?
Yeah, just to answer in terms of what libraries do, and this is done across many libraries, and Leeds has been mentioned, but all of those things that you've talked about are really important, but they can feel really overwhelming to people. And family hubs are fantastic, but people can often feel worried about stepping through those doors too. And one of the informal ways that libraries have had encounters with people who are pregnant. We've done things having creative days where we have baby showers, where we've had the opportunity to bring in partners from, across health and creativity, and sharing information and all the things that would be on offer from a library, from the system, from family hubs and so on. So we can be that creative, informal place that brings all of those people together. So there are things that are happening, but there is a lot more that could happen, and hopefully as we go through this programme, we'll get really great at working together.
Thank you. A lot about collaboration and starting early. We have run out of time, but I think that we should keep these conversations going, and please, are you around for the whole day? Please do grab someone and have a chat. And we've got one question online, which is going to take me over slightly, but I think we must have it.
Thanks. I think this will be a quick one. It's from Georgina Rayner online, and she's asked, have Rambert already chosen the nurseries they're working with for early moves? And are you working with school nurseries? They're located in Salford. She hasn't said who they are exactly, but they're in Salford.
That's a really good question. We for the test and learn that we just completed, it was GMCA were amazing at just disseminating all the information to every PVI setting, private voluntary, what does the I stand for again? Independent, thank you, dyslexia, nursery. And so it was kind of like who was interested in the offer. But this time what's really exciting is that because we've sort of been building the project organically, and I've had a chance to kind of pop into early education lead meetings and talk to the leads in each borough. They've worked really hard at identifying settings where they really want to target it, and so where they're most in need, and looking at sort of taking a sort of data-driven approach with sort of school readiness. So it's really exciting that that we've kind of worked in this really specific way. That said, the nursery in Salford, I mean, if there's a way of getting the form to them, because I wouldn't want to turn down any nursery that was interested in it. There's a few that it closes on Sunday, and there's 1 or 2 spaces available. So if they wanted to apply, that'd be great. And if there's a way that I can get the application form to them, that would be ace. So that's how we've done it. It's been sort of very specific with the early education leads, with Miriam's help and all the school readiness team, and that's how we did it. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Another? Okay, great. I'm going to pass over to Julie. Thanks to the speakers. Thanks for those wonderful questions and the learning.